Claude Code is one of the most powerful tools on the market, and I know this because I built our entire marketing website in less than a week using Claude Code. For those of you that don't know, Claude is an AI-powered coding assistant, and it has taken the world by storm. If you work in tech, basically any developer is using this right now, and it is 10xing, 100xing their productivity. Now, I know that sounds crazy, and we know that AI isn't always right, but part of the success with Claude Code is how you set it up. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the basics of how to set up Claude Code and show you how you can actually implement your own feature in the Spotify app. So let's just get straight into it. All right, so step one, we got to set up our coding environment. So in this step, we're going to clone our Next Sound repo. So that's the app where we are going to build on top of Spotify. We're then going to install Node.js, which we need to run Claude Code, install Claude Code, and then finally create our own Claude account. Don't worry if you don't know how to do any of this. We're going to cover it step by step, and you can also follow along in this guide, which you can get in the description for free. So I want you to open up an IDE. So that's something like Cursor or VS Code, basically anywhere where you can write, test, debug code in a single environment. I'm going to use Cursor because I find it really easy. We can then go to clone a repo, and you're going to go to the project guide and just copy this in here, and we're going to clone our repo. So we can go to the top here, hit enter, and I'm just going to save it on my desktop so it's super easy, and that should be good to go. Now you can see that our files are loaded in, our packages are loaded in. However, we do need to install Node.js as I talked about before. So we can go to the top of our screen, click on terminal, and then create a new terminal, or you can go Command J or Control J. So we can just run this code here, node -- version. It's also in the project guide. And if you see something like this with a version number, that means you already have Node installed. If you see an error, that means you have to go ahead and install Node.js. It is incredibly important, and you won't be able to run Claude Code without it. Node.js is a runtime environment that lets you run code outside of web browsers. So JavaScript originally was only designed for web browsers, and Node.js acts as like a translator so that you can run JavaScript on your computer instead of just in your web browser. So with developer tools like Claude Code, they run on JavaScript, they're built on JavaScript, but we need tools like Node.js to be able to translate them so that they can run on our machine as they're not running in our web browser. So if you don't have it, we can just go back to the project guide here and go to the Node.js download page. We're going to click into here, and you can actually install it through code or the terminal, but I'd recommend going through just as you would install a normal application on your laptop. Choose your operating system, what device you're running on, and then just install the package as you would normally. Now we can go back to our terminal here, and some people may actually have Claude installed. If you do, I would just check your version. If you don't, you're going to see something like this, where it's going to say Claude not found, and that means we have to go ahead and actually be able to install Claude Code. So we can go back to the project guide here, and all we need to do is just run this in our terminal. This is basically just an installation command for installing Claude Code on our terminal. So we can copy that, can paste it in here, and that's going to go ahead and add in some packages. It's super, super quick. Now, in case you're wondering what this command actually means, essentially npm is a tool that comes with Node.js, and it helps you download and manage extra code called packages, which your project needs to actually be able to work properly. Then the @symbol is just telling you which organization published the package. So in this case, it's Anthropic AI, and it is the Claude Code package made by Anthropic. And then lastly, you have that -G flag, and this is basically meaning install it globally. So it makes the tool that you're installing available everywhere on your computer, not just inside of one project folder. So now we can actually run the Claude command here. It's super simple, and that should spin up our Claude instance. Now, if this is the first time you've downloaded Claude, you're going to see something like this, which is just going to basically like ask you to set your theme or your appearance. I just leave it on dark mode. That's the one that I like. Then you're going to see this screen is going to ask you to select a login method. There's two different types of billing that we can go with, a subscription and a API-based account. Now, with the subscription model, this may be familiar to you if you used ChatGPT before, but there's the free account, there's the pro, and there's the max tier. So when it comes to the free, you're not really going to get too much access, kind of just using like ChatGPT, but Anthropic's version, and you can't use Claude Code. With the Pro account here, you can actually start using Claude Code in your terminal, but you get access to Sonnet, which is not the top model that Claude has provided. About $17 a month, and to be honest, you're limited to around, I'd say 10 to 40 prompts every 5 hours. So if you're using more than that, it's probably not a good option for you. I would recommend getting the max plan. The max plan is about 5 times the usage, or you can get like a super max plan, which is 20 times the usage of Pro, and you can actually use the most powerful model by Claude or Anthropic, which is the Opus model there. Now this is going to raise your limits to between 200 to 800 prompts per 5 hours. So for most people, you're not going to hit the usage limits if you're on the max plan. So if you are using it quite a lot and you want a fixed monthly bill, this is going to be the option for you. Now for this video, we're actually focusing on API-based pricing. Now this is a pay per token model, so meaning you could build like a small test project like we're doing here, which is going to cost us around $2 to $5. Instead of committing to a $20 monthly subscription, it's perfect if you just want to test out Claude Code or automate something, or maybe you have some credits given to you by your company or by a startup. So this, in my opinion, is a better model to go with if you're just trying to test out Claude Code. So for us, we're going to go back to the terminal and go Anthropic console account and hit enter here. Now this is going to ask you to create an account on the Claude developer platform. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Just sign in through Google. Now, if you don't have a Claude account, it may ask you to create an account at this point here. If not, we can just go ahead and click authorize, and that's all good. Now you're likely going to see something like this here, and it's going to prompt you to buy some credits at the top. I've already used this account, so I'm just going to go expand here, then go to limits and I'll go to billing, and then I can purchase some credits in here. So you're just going to click this buy credits button, and I'd recommend just doing $5. That's the minimum amount you can do, and you can just go ahead and purchase these $5. As you start to use Claude Code, you'll find that it is very easy to use credits, and it's easy to not keep a track of how much you're actually spending if you're on that API-based usage. So while I'm here, I'm actually going to show you how to create a budget as well, because when you're using Claude Code, you'll find how easy it is to spend money, how easy it is to not actually keep a track of how much you are spending. So setting a budget, I think, is a really good place to start. We're going to go to limits here, and then I'm going to go to change limit. And we're just going to set this to $5 so that we don't spend more than our allocated amount. We wouldn't be able to spend more than the amount of dollars that we have as credits in our account, but this is a good way to just keep a budget so that we know how much we're spending every month. You can also add an email notification to send you an email when you've hit a certain amount. So I can just put it as $1 here, or you could change it to $4 so that you know you're kind of hitting your amount and you need to top up or you need to stop your project. But I think it's also a really good thing to do. Now, once you've done that, you can go back to your Claude terminal here and hit enter. So firstly, we're going to see the security note by Claude. Essentially, we're giving Claude permission to scan through all of our documents and files within the code base we're looking at. So you want to make sure that that code base doesn't have anything malicious, and this document here is just going into more detail about that. I recommend reading it if you have some time, but in our case, we're all safe and ready to go, so we can hit enter. From here, we can just continue on with the recommended settings that Claude recommends for their terminal setup. You can change that if you want later on. We're just going to hit go. And then you're always going to get this any time that you open up a repo and Claude has never seen it before. And this is basically a statement just saying that you trust the files in this folder, kind of what I was talking about before. Nothing is malicious and nothing will affect your machine. So in our case, we can just proceed and we're good to go. So now we've made it to this point. Congrats, you've got Claude set up on your machine. Now, firstly, we're actually going to look at the /model command. There's a lot of things that are going to pop up in your menu there, but we're going to look at how we can set different models for Claude. Now, in this case, there's actually 3 different options at the time of filming this. There's Haiku, so this is the fastest and most effective model, which is typically used for smaller tasks. There's Opus. Now, Opus is the most powerful model and is also the most expensive, and it's typically used with more complex reasoning tasks. And then you've got the default, which is currently Sonnet 4.5. This, in my opinion, is a balanced performance and cost-based model. So it's good for most projects that you're going to be doing, and it's the one that we're actually going to be using for this project here. But you can also switch models at any time if you'd like. In case you're wondering how the pricing works, essentially you're charged on tokens. Now, tokens roughly are about 4 characters equals 1 token. Just roughly, please don't come for me in the comments. But every time Claude reads your code or generates a response, it's consuming tokens. So input tokens are your prompts and the files that Claude reads, and then output tokens are what Claude generates, so the chat responses or the code that it actually writes. For this project, we're going to spend between $1 and $5 depending on the model you choose. As I said before, Haiku is the cheapest, about $1 per million input, $5 per million output. Sonnet is about $3.15, and then Opus is about $15.75, so quite expensive, but it's going to give you the best possible results. So we can just go ahead and select Sonnet 4.5 as our model here. The next thing we're going to do is just show you the cost command. Now this, during any point when you're using Claude Code, you can just type this in, and this command here is going to show you how much you've spent during your session. So obviously for us, we haven't spent anything at this point, but as we go through the project, we'll be looking at it at certain times to see how much we've actually spent. Now, before we get too carried away with playing around with Claude, it's a lot of fun, I know, we need to actually install our dependencies. So I'd think of these dependencies as external libraries or tools that our project needs to function. Instead of writing everything from scratch, developers use pre-built packages like React for UI components or Express for web servers. And these are created by other developers. Now, the dependencies that we need are listed in this package JSON file. And usually the first thing you do after cloning a JavaScript project is to run npm install, and it'll get all the necessary code libraries that our project needs to run. So for us, we can go ahead and create a new terminal here. And we're actually just gonna go ahead and type in npm install. Now it's going to take some time, but it's going to go ahead and download all those dependencies. I see a moderate severity vulnerability, so I'm just going to go ahead and run npm audit as it told me to do. And I can actually just go ahead and run npm audit fix, and this should fix everything. Cool, all sorted. If you do have any issues, you could actually just ask Claude to do this as well. I just did this in the terminal to save costs, but it would cost like 1 cent or something with Claude doing it. We're going to go back to Claude here, and we're actually going to run something incredibly important. Like, this is probably one of the most important things. If you get anything out of this video, do this. And that is running /init. So we can go ahead and press enter here. And essentially what this command is doing is Claude is scanning your entire project and is building a special file called a Claude.MD file. So basically it's like memory for your code base, and it's giving Claude a full taught so it understands your folders, your dependencies, your coding style before it actually starts helping you. Now, most people get confused between a readme and a Claude.MD file. You can see here is a readme in our code base. Now, readme is for humans. It explains like what your project does, how to set it up, how to use it. It is the first thing a developer reads when they open your readme. Just before I continue with that explanation, you're going to get a window like this that's going to pop up, and it's going to say, do you want me to edit the Claude.MD file? For this case, we can actually just go yes, allow all edits. Otherwise, this window is going to keep popping up while I explain things. Now, this right here is our Claude.MD file. So this is for AI. It contains the rules and context that Claude needs to work on our project, like our coding conventions or our file structure, or if we have any particular rules, like we always want to use this kind of button style, this is where we want to put that kind of information. Now, you can do this manually, but this /init command actually is really powerful, and Claude writes down everything it learns about your project into that file. Now, as I said, it's a memory file for Claude, but Claude actually has multiple memory types. We have project memory, user memory, and local memory. Now, project memory is stored in your Claude.MD, and that is shared with your team through Git. So it's what keeps Claude consistent for this specific project. User memory, this is global memory. So that's going to follow you across all your projects. For example, always explain code in simple terms to me. That's going to be covered across all the projects that you do. And then lastly, you have local memory. So this is your personal notes for a project that are not shared with the team. So like, I don't know, something like, I'm working on a login feature today. You don't want to share that with your team, and it's only local. Now, you can edit this memory by going /memory or just simply clicking in the files, but you can see the different MD files that Claude has created here. Likewise, we can also just go hashtag and then add a memory to our file. So in this case, we can go to the project guide. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this text in here, and we can paste it into the prompt window. So this is basically saying, do not implement new features that I didn't tell you to do. If you'd like to add something we haven't discussed, you must confirm the plan with me. So this is quite a useful memory to actually have in here. So we can go ahead and actually click return or enter. Now you're going to see a few different options pop up here. We can go scroll to the bottom, and this can just be project memory. So we don't want this for everyone. We just want it for our project. So now if we look in our Claude.MD file, you'll see that this rule has actually popped up in there. Managing your memory with Claude is very, very powerful, and it gives you consistent answers and Claude is going to remember your rules, and it saves you from re-explaining the same context every time. So once we're all done with that, in this step, we're actually going to run our web app and we'll explore what we've built so far. And then we'll use the plan mode in Claude Code to map out a complete 3-stage plan for our share feature that we want to build. So first, let's jump back into the terminal, and we're going to go ahead here and type in pwd. So that's print working directory. And essentially, we will just want to make sure that we're in the root of our project. If you're not, it's actually super simple. We can just type in cd here, and then we can drag our folder into the terminal just like that. And we're going to navigate into our root folder there. From here, what we want to do is actually go ahead and launch our web app locally. So we're going to type in npm run dev, and we're going to hit enter. Now you're going to see something like this with a link here. We can go ahead and go command click, and we're going to pop open this onto our browser, and you're going to see the app actually live here. So it's really cool to see. Localhost just basically just means your own computer, and that 5173 is just the port number. So it's kind of like a door that Claude uses to serve your app. If it's all loaded up for you, feel free to just click around the app, like check out all the track cards, the different buttons, the light mode, dark mode, everything. Check it out. Just feel free to have a play with it now so you can get an understanding of how the app actually works. Now we're going to switch gears and go back into Claude here. So click into that terminal. And in here, we're going to switch to our plan mode. So all you need to do is just go Shift Tab, and you can actually cycle through. You'll see at the bottom here, the different modes for Claude. So you got your default mode here. You got your always accept changes. So that's anytime you ask Claude to do something, it'll just automatically go ahead and do it, and it'll make changes to your files and your structure. And you got your plan mode, which won't make any changes. It'll just make a plan with you. This is an absolute must when you're planning complex features. So I'd recommend using plan mode if you are doing something like that. We can actually go back to the project guide, and we're just going to copy in this prompt here to create our 3-stage plan. So you can see here, it says, I want to add a share feature to the Nextsound app. Please create a detailed 3-stage plan implementation plan. Stage 1, add a share button UI to each track card that sends a debug message to the browser console when clicked. Stage 2, implement the clipboard functionality to copy the track's Spotify URL. And stage 3, add a toast notification that confirms the URL was copied. Describe what you'll do at each stage, which files will be created / modified, and how each stage builds on the previous one. Now we can go ahead and press enter here, and Claude Code is going to go ahead and do its thing and create a plan. So as normal, when you are prompting, you want your prompt to be structured really, really well. And it sets a clear goal, defines specific stages, and gives Claude the exact level of detail that you need. So when you are writing your own prompts, I'd recommend checking out maybe our prompt engineering video that I've done in the past, or using Claude itself to help you with the prompts, but just be specific. So start with your goal, be specific, break it into stages or steps. You can add in some constraints or preferences that you need, and also ask for details, explain your approach, that kind of stuff. A good prompt is going to really save you a lot of hours. You may get a pop-up like this, which is going to ask you which library you'd like to use for stage 3. You can choose React, Sonnet, or your own custom implementation. For this particular one, I'm going to use React for this. Claude will continue asking me some questions here. So I want the share button to be on the top right corner of the track cards. The fallback, if the Spotify track doesn't have a URL, I want to hide the share button. Yeah, and I want the share button to be added to both. This is a new feature. I haven't personally seen this in Claude Code before. I've used Claude Code a lot, so this is something a little bit new that I've seen. And we can submit our answers here. This is the thing, when you're using something like Claude Code, they're always going to be shipping changes. This is a very, very popular tool, as we said at the start of the video. So they're going to be shipping changes, and things may change, but hopefully it's getting better and better and better. So from here, Claude is going to give you a plan, and you can read through this plan, and it's going to tell you stage by stage what it's going to do. Now, if you're happy with this plan, you can go ahead and just hit accept all changes. I'm actually going to go no keep planning, and I'm going to paste in a prompt here that says add strict instructions to this plan to ensure we will not move beyond a certain stage until I've confirmed it is ready for the next stage. So I'm going to go ahead and hit return. This is just going to make sure that Claude is not going off at its own tangent. Sometimes Claude will think it's doing the right thing, but it actually goes completely off. At any point, if you see Claude is building something and it's going to show you it's working out here, you can actually just go ahead and press escape, and Claude is going to stop doing what it's doing. You can also add in certain other prompts here if you see that Claude is not doing something right. So now I can go ahead and click auto accept changes, and Claude is going to go ahead and do its thing. So you can see all the different steps that Claude is going to go through while it creates this feature here. And at any point you can interrupt Claude. Just press escape on your keyboard. So something like this. You can see that we've just interrupted Claude. And you can now tell Claude to do something different, or you could change the prompt. I'm just going to say continue on, and Claude is going to go ahead and do its thing. You can also queue other messages. So you could say, I want the button to have slightly rounded corners. And now Claude is going to basically take in your request, try and figure out where in the cycle it should put this request. So you can see it's already ingested it here, and it's going to put it in here. This might take a while, so this is a good time to tell you to like and subscribe, do all that cool stuff. If you're having any trouble with Claude or any of the projects that you're doing, you can always join our community as well. We have a community of over 10,000 people. Wait, I think it's over 20,000 people. And it's people from all around the world who are interested in AI, AWS, cloud, anything like that. So I'd recommend checking it out. It's a good place to have your questions answered and also get advice about your career and how you're going. Anyway, I'm going to see you back here when this is done. Cool, so Claude has done its thing now, and it's now at this gate process where it's waiting for us to approve before it goes on to stage 2. So we can actually go to our local host here, and you can see that our share button is now on the tiles here, which is awesome. I mean, that's working exactly how we wanted it to. But let's check if the button is actually working. So we can go to this inspect tab here. Yours may look slightly different, and I'm just gonna make this a little bit bigger so that you can see what's going on. I mean, I know this looks a bit intimidating, but basically what you're seeing right now is the structure of your page. So it's all the HTML and CSS behind what you're seeing. Now, what we wanna do is actually go to this console tab here. So this console tab is where you can see logs or debug messages or any errors that your web app throws. Think of it as like kind of a live chat window between you and your code. And we can use this to confirm whether the button clicked is actually being detected properly. So if I go here and I click a button, you can see that it's working correctly. This is exactly what we want. And saying share clicked for the track, Cruel Summer. So we clicked on the Taylor Swift song. Honestly, not really my jam, but we'll go ahead for this video. Now, if you don't see this, you see an error, or you don't even see this at all, you can actually just take a screenshot of this. So I'm going to take a screenshot of what's going on. And now in Claude Code itself, if you're on a Mac, you can go Control V, and it's going to paste in an image. So in this case here, there's no errors, but let's say I have an error, please fix this. Claude is now able to process images, or it's been able to for a while, but it's able to process images. So if you have even a design that you're looking at and you're like, oh, I want it to look more like this, I want my share button to be styled like this, you can give Claude an image and it's going to go ahead and actually use that image as reference. But for us, we're all good with the changes, so we can say continue onwards. So just remember, in step 2, we're trying to make our copy button actually do something. So we wanted to copy the Spotify's URL to the clipboard. So at this point, it's waiting for us to move on to stage 3. So we can go back to our local host here. I'm going to close this inspect element. And if I click on this right here, I can then go into, let's just go into a new tab here, and I can paste it. So that it works exactly like how we wanted it to. So what Claude is doing is it's written the code that connects your button's click to the browser's clipboard UI. So that's a feature in browsers when you hit like Control C or Command C, it stores the text so you can paste it somewhere else. In essence, what happened here is Claude is gone into your app's data so that every time you click share, it grabs the track's URL and copies it automatically to your clipboard. So you've just connected your UI to a real browser feature, so there's no backend calls and no extra setup. If that didn't work, you can always go back to inspect, go to console, and then just check out what is happening here. But you can see here, like it successfully copied our track, which is exactly what we wanted. So lastly, we can move on to stage 3. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit continue. And this is the stage where we are trying to add that final polishing. So we basically want a toast notification so that users actually see that they have clicked a feature. So right here, Claude is trying to install a React Hot Toast package. I'm going to just go ahead and say don't ask again. So I'm going to give it permission to do that. So it doesn't have to create the code automatically. It's just going to install a package to be able to import this in. What I've learned building our website and working with our designer is that often you don't need to reinvent the wheel. People have designed buttons and layouts of pages so often, so there's no need to try something new. You can actually just use their code and it's going to streamline your app and make it a lot quicker. Cool, so that's all done for us. So I can actually go back into our app here, and I'm going to go Billie Eilish this time, and you can see that our toast notification pops up there. It's not going to show in our console logs here, but if there was an error, it would be showing. But we can see that whatever I click now, our toast notification is going to pop up, and that is exactly what we want. It disappears as well. Also, just before we wrap up, we can actually just go to our terminal again, and we can type in /cost to get an idea of how much we've actually spent. So you can see in this project here, we've spent $1.95, so just under that $2 mark. But who knows, depending on the model that you used or the features that you implemented, it may be slightly more or slightly less. Cool, so that wraps up today's video. As always, leave a like, subscribe. This was just a basic video, but we can go into more detail into how to actually implement further features with Claude Code, and we can go into things like commands or agents. And as Claude is constantly releasing new features, we want to stay up to date as well. So let us know in the comments what you want to see next, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.